Welcome back to Son of Chelsea. Daniel Childs here. Hope you're doing really well on this Friday. This is my preview ahead of tonight's game against Manchester United in the Premier League. The penultimate league game, the final home game of this season for Chelsea. Simply put, 3 points or bust. I can't see, or at least Chelsea would need even more mad luck with opponents and rivals dropping points if Chelsea fail to win tonight and still somehow qualify for the Champions League. But it kind of is symbolic. I really do think if you can't beat this Man United team, you don't deserve Champions League football. You really don't. And I think the same could probably be said of Aston Villa, who are, of course, at home to Spurs tonight. You know, if you can't beat that team, you probably don't deserve Champions League football. So it all comes down to this, the final two games, and whether Chelsea can get over the line. There is some trepidation because, of course, historically, no matter what United have done this season, and of course we did beat them at home last year in dramatic fashion, our record against Man United is pretty horrendous, basically since 2017. Especially in the Premier League, we've only beaten them once, and that was, of course, the 4-3 win where Cole Palmer scored 2 in added time. I hope, although it was wonderful, that game, and we can watch that final minutes now with some joy and comfort, I don't want that tonight. And hopefully Chelsea can turn up. They can show the intensity, the spirit, the unity that we saw against Liverpool a few weeks ago. Also, even, against Spurs, big kind of home games under the lights. I hope the atmosphere inside the bridge will be brilliant and very much pushing the team on to get this big 3 points. So, yeah, there is some fear, trepidation historically, but in terms of quality, in terms of form, in terms of performance level, Chelsea have to win this game. It's pretty clear. Now, Maresca pre-game, I think the big question mark for this game, well, there actually is two, in terms of selection. What is he going to do regarding the forward line? Who's going to play up top? I'll give you my answer when I give you my predicted 11. And then Reece James. Will Reece James start this game? Will he return as right back, a more conventional right back? And that means you shift Moises Caicedo back into central midfield, probably alongside Romeo Lavia, because there was some concern of how Newcastle exploited that last weekend, especially in the first half of that game. Now, I think, again, we'll talk about that in my preview, but there was some concern because Reece, and we spoke about it in one of my recent shows, Reece missed training. And panic stations, is he injured? No, illness. And he returned to training pretty quickly. So thank God for that. He is ready. He is available, you'd think, to start this game. And that, of course, is a huge choice, I think, for Enzo Maresca. I think many see it as a simple choice, but, for someone who does have a bit of evidence in Maresca can look at some evidence and say, when I've done the Caicedo inverted right back thing and Lavia in central midfield, it has worked. You can't say it's never worked, but I think many people, of course, recency bias, will look at the Newcastle game and say, it didn't work, don't mess around with it, let's be simple, let's be clear, and put a conventional right back there and see how it works out, especially the quality that we know Reece James possesses for this game. So Man United obviously have been truly horrendous. I obviously did my podcast with Scott Saunders. Please go and check it out because we talk about a lot in there. Jadon Sancho, Liam Delap. So not just evergreen stuff that's not just specific about this game. But obviously we spoke about Man United and how horrendous they've been. I mean, it's remarkable to even be sat here and talking about a Man United team arriving at Stamford Bridge in 16th place. And obviously it all relies on that Europa League final next week for both Man United and Spurs. In terms of their top scorer, we know it's Bruno Fernandes. He really is the last kind of sign of any form of competitiveness and seriousness in the Man United team. And it's hard really to know what Man United team is even going to play in tonight's game, because I guess conventional wisdom would make you think that Amram is going to rotate. He's going to put out a weakened kind of second choice 11 because you don't want to get any of your big players, most notably Bruno Fernandes, injured. Spurs have had a lot of problems with injuries going into this game as well. So I think there's that part of it, but as Scott said, there are some players who probably need some minutes to gain their fitness up, not going into next week's game completely cold. So I think it will be a mixture. I mean, the team that he put out last time is probably quite reflective. I know Lenny Yoro is obviously injured now, so he won't be playing. But I think that maybe is a good representation of the team we'll see, where you will see Mason Mount playing against Chelsea, starting against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. Obviously came off the bench last year. Kobe Mainu, Rasmus Højlund, Ahmad, Bruno Fernandes may start the game and then come off, or on the bench and then come on. So there will be quality within the Man United team, but it's just psychologically, how serious are they going to take this game? I mean, they haven't won a Premier League game since the 16th of March. They have been battered pretty consistently. West Ham, who have been abject recently, even went to Old Trafford and won. So for me, I think for Chelsea, I just hope that Chelsea don't drop to Man United's level, because I felt that when I watched a game at Old Trafford back in October, November of this season. Far too often I feel like Chelsea are playing Man United, the Man United of like the mid-2000s. Psychologically, it feels like we're kind of overawed by the fact that, it's Man United. And I'm not saying that you completely dismiss it and you don't take it seriously at all, because obviously there are still some individuals, they've got themselves to Europa League final, but they're 16th in the Premier League. They have been truly horrendous defensively. They've been exposed on a number of occasions. Their players don't seem up for it psychologically in these games. The momentum should be with Chelsea. Chelsea have the quality, the form, hopefully the tactical plan to kind of overawe this Man United team. And I really do think if Chelsea do what they did against Liverpool in the Premier League and score early, I think Chelsea will win this game comfortably, because I don't think Man United really will want to put themselves truly out there to try and turn around a game and maybe overexert themselves again. You've got to play on that. You've got to try and capitalise on that if you can, and hopefully make it a pretty comfortable evening at Stamford Bridge and really test how much United want the fight, given obviously focus is all on a Europa League final. So let me get to my starting 11. So one of the things I've seen, and I made a mistake earlier in the week of thinking, is Jadon Sancho, could he play? And then you realise that Jadon Sancho is not a main sort of permanent Chelsea player, so he can't play this game. So we know that Jadon Sancho won't be playing. We know obviously that Nicolas Jackson is suspended now for the rest of the season. Rob Sanchez will start in goal. I don't think he did anything wrong at Newcastle. He is the Premier League goalkeeper. I fully suspect he will play the remainder of the Premier League games. The huge question is, will he start the Conference League final? My instinct right now is telling me I think Jorgensen will start that final. Now we're getting into the back four. I think Reece James will start. I just think it makes a lot of sense. I think there is a knock-on effect here of what's going on further up the pitch, but also just Reece is the captain. I think Reece as right back, I think it sends out a positive signal about his still value and importance to this team. I know they've been very, very cautious, and understandably so, about his fitness. But I think Reece will obviously want to put in a big performance, and I think as well, it maybe also sends out a sign of Chelsea, going for Man United a bit more. And also you're moving Caicedo into central midfield, and seeing Caicedo and Lavia, spoiler alert, in central midfield is obviously a real positive, and seeing the ground they could cover, the passes they could play, the way they can really overawe that Man United midfield because of the way Ruben Amorim sets up his team. You suspect the way he's been setting up his team recently, you've got Mason Mount kind of playing as an inside forward, Kobe Minu as well. Both of those players are more natural central midfielders, so they will, invert. But then there is also space, when the team has to react to you, and you ask questions of teams, they have to then work around what you're doing and react to what you're doing. You hope that then that creates other options for you, maybe out wide in other areas as well. Maybe it isolates Rasmus Højlund or whoever is playing up top for Man United. So I think that's a positive, right? Moving Caicedo and Lavia, having them in central midfield, I think that's a really exciting prospect for the short and long term for Chelsea. The rest of the back four for me, Trev, Colwill, Cucurella, it's quite obvious this is the Premier League back four. I think it should remain the same. I think both Trev and Colwill actually had to do a lot of work last week, especially in that first half when Chelsea were being overrun by that Newcastle team. Enzo, I think, obviously will join Lavia and Caicedo in central midfield. Whether he can pick up a big goal and make some late runs into the box is obviously a huge question mark. But I think Enzo Fernandez creatively obviously has had a really improved season. So I really hope in these final three games he can really show and cement what has been a positive season, his best season at Chelsea so far. So then we get into the forward line. I don't think it's going to be that complex, really. I think it's just using the players that Enzo Maresca has used for the majority of the season. It's how you kind of use them and how they will be positioned. I think Palmer, Neto and Madueke are the three names. Now, I think that Madueke will play on the left. I think he should play on the left. I think he's been really exciting there, and I want to keep him there and see what he can do and develop and grow. Because he's been Chelsea's best wide player, and I think it's been a really positive revelation. And also credit to Maresca for trying him there, because I think it's worked out. I'm a bit torn as to whether Palmer plays a more right attacking role or Pedro Neto does what he did in that run. I think it was during March when we tried him basically as the centre forward, and it kind of worked in some ways. maybe in some ways didn't, because, you can't really hit the ball to him that long. Chelsea got a real problem. They did it even with Jackson on the pitch, of hitting long against a really aerially dominant centre-back pairing, and it just not working out, even with a more recognised centre-forward. Part of me would like to see just Palmer central, because I think he is our best finisher, at least the ones left. And I just think that Neto maybe out wide. You have the speed of Neto out wide on the right. Left, you have more natural wingers. And then you have Palmer, who can float, who can move. I think him and Enzo Fernandez can kind of swap and rotate. That's the thing with not having a focal point. You need to look for other ways, alternatives. You need to start thinking about how you can get movement, overloads, try and very much swarm that Man United backline, try and get a lot of fluid movement, interchanging positions. That's what this team has to do. And in some ways, you can kind of look at Maresca's style of football and say maybe that actually suits his style of play a little bit more than kind of your conventional number 9 who's going to kind of stay inside the box. So that's what I think. Tyreek George maybe has an argument here because he's played this role and has actually done some good. But I just think at this stage of the season, with the stakes as high as they are, and just watching what Maresca has done, I think 9 times out of 10, he's going to play the players he's trusted the most. And I think Palmer, Neto, Madueke, these are players he's played consistently all through the course of the season. He doesn't have Jadon Sancho, so it would have been kind of more obvious that you could have played Sancho on the left, Madueke on the right, or maybe swap them, and then you have Neto, and then you move Palmer back. But then that has ramifications further back in the team, because then what you're probably doing is moving Caicedo into that right-back role. So it does have a knock-on effect, the Jackson suspension, it really does. But maybe for some people, that's a positive, because it allows James back into the team. It maybe gives more freedom for Enzo Fernandez to move further up the pitch. So that's my instinct, and I think if it works, he'll probably do the same against Nottingham Forest in a week's time. So those are my thoughts, feelings, my predicted 11. Please let me know yours and your predictions ahead of tonight's game. I'll be back tomorrow to give you my review and thoughts, and hopefully a positive win and a positive performance in Chelsea being on the brink of Champions League qualification. If not, well, we'll be here to do the post-mortem, but hopefully that isn't the case. Thank you again. Follow across the socials at SonOfChelsea. Have a great Friday, and I'll see you again very soon. All the best.